hotness today coming in from one Daniel Jeremiah, kind of the talk of the town, the NFL town, Mase.
Yeah, the NFL media complex.
I like that.
Yes, when there's a conference call that involves, like, there's Daniel Jeremiah, Mel Kiper Jr.'s done them, Todd McShay has done them, and in the case of Daniel Jeremiah, Mike Mayock used to as well, but in the case of Daniel Jeremiah, he stayed on for 2 hours today and answered, I think, pretty much every question. I believe he got to everybody in the Zoom queue, including yours truly.
Nice.
But that meant he answered multiple questions in regard to the Broncos and the draft, and you're going to be able to read about that at denversports.com. But it also meant he basically answered a lot of questions about quarterbacks, including the guy that we're going to talk about today, and that's J.J. McCarthy.
Yes, and we'll double up on the Daniel Jeremiah stuff because he said so much that we're going to focus on J.J. McCarthy today because of the Minnesota report. And if you want me to speculate on where that came from, I will, because it's pretty obvious. But the Minnesota report that Sean Payton has fallen in love, Mase. What is it, a week ago he said he didn't know the numbers, and now he's in love?
Isn't that how love works sometimes?
You're not expecting it, and then something exciting and new. Right?
Come aboard. We're expecting you.
Come aboard the J.J. McCarthy love boat for Sean Payton.
You know, it's funny. You mentioned Minnesota and love boat. There's a, remember the
yes, I do.
The sex cruise on the lake in Minnesota, as it were, back in the day that the Vikings were involved with. Oh boy. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. First of all, let's talk about the thing that popped up yesterday. That was from Paul Allen, the longtime radio voice of the Minnesota Vikings, who happened to be doing his radio show in Colorado for a bit, and said that he had spoken with someone with knowledge that said that Sean Payton was enamored with J.J. McCarthy. Right?
Yes, well-placed source, I believe, is what he said.
Yeah, who do you think that? Well, so you want to speculate on it then? I mean,
I will.
You got something hot. Yeah.
I'll be the guy. George Payton, you got to make it a little more clandestine, okay? Allegedly, or whatever I have to say. Because you and I hear so much, Mase, and there's so much that you and I know that we don't sometimes even tell each other, but that we don't say, right? Because it would be too easy to do the calculus and be like, oh, that came from, I know who Mase is talking to. I know who Cecil's talking to. Well, I pretty much know who Paul Allen's talking to. And that's unfortunate for a guy who needs to make sure he does his job really well and that I believe has a good eye for talent. But yeah, my personal belief, and I could be totally wrong, is that this came from George Payton. And if this came from George Payton, and if Sean Payton actually does love J.J. and McCarthy, shh, Mase, shh. No, you're not supposed to say that.
Yeah. These things have a habit of getting out there, unless maybe it's misinformation and the Broncos have another thing in mind. I mean, that's, because
like cloak and dagger.
Well, we also know that, Sean Payton is friends with Colin Cowherd of Fox Sports. Mm-hmm. And Colin Cowherd has talked a lot about Bo Nix and talked up Bo Nix, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, yeah, this is one of those. This is one of those times where you basically you got misinformation, you got disinformation, but some of it out there is informed speculation. The interesting thing, of course, with J.J. McCarthy and this coming up on a Minnesota show is, of course, if the Vikings move on from Kirk Cousins as expected in the next few weeks at quarterback, they will be very much in the quarterback market. And they're sitting with one pick ahead of the Broncos. Now, one thing that was interesting from Daniel Jeremiah today when he was doing his 2-hour conference call is he suggested the Broncos, if they really want to get QB4, probably have to move up to they may have to move up above pick 6, right? Above the New York Giants at 6 and the Atlanta Falcons at 8 because they could be in the quarterback market too.
For sure.
And we'll get a better sense of it in the next 3 weeks when we see what teams choose to do at quarterback. Like we've said, if Atlanta signs Justin Fields or trades for Justin Fields, I should say, at number 8, you can maybe cross them off the list. If the Vikings bring back Kirk Cousins, and I don't think that's outside the realm of possibility, if they kind of look at the options and say, oh, maybe we just renew our vows with Captain Kirk here for a 7th season in Minnesota. You do that, then they're probably out of the mix for a quarterback right now. But yeah, this is there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of crap that we're sifting through on a daily basis.
Well, and this comes up, I think I've said it on Denver Sports Tonight. Forgive me, Mase, I talk a lot. Do you think the season of lies began early? It usually begins after the combine. The combine is the last bastion where we can get good information. It seems like this year, maybe it's the quarterbacks, but it seems like we're getting some crap this year that it's difficult to believe.
It's a quarterback desperate league. This draft looks much better than next year's draft. That was something that Daniel Jeremiah alluded to today. It's something you and I have talked about in terms of the quality of quarterbacks at the top of the draft. I think it has started early in part because there is a pretty high amount of urgency for teams at the quarterback position. If they don't have that, if they don't have the guy to be doing everything they can to get the guy, right? And that can fuel a great many things that float around, including the stuff that we've been disseminating over the last couple of days.
Yeah, so if Sean Payton did fall in love, okay, now what? Because that still means move up. And J.J. McCarthy, we'll get into it in our Combine preview show. That'll be out on Monday. And full disclosure, we're going to pre-record it because him and I will be traveling Monday. So Monday will be a busy day, but we're going to have an OBT with us too, talking about a Combine preview. And J.J. McCarthy, in my eyes, Mase, has the most to gain. I did read that Michael Penix is going to throw at the Combine, which is good for him. He needs to.
Yeah, he needs to.
J.J. McCarthy, measurement, passing, like this is almost a J.J. McCarthy feature coming up next week in Indy.
Yeah, and it's notable to throw at the Combine because a lot of prospects choose not to say, all right, I don't want to throw to people I've just met. I'm going to do it at my pro day with receivers that I've known for multiple years, that I've got time with and timing with as well. But it says a lot about him, and I think it's something that maybe he feels like he needs to do to see if he can move up. Of course, then again, moving up is probably bad news for the Broncos unless they just say, okay, if you're in love, go get him. And that is something that you have to say. If Daniel Jeremiah spoke of this, I've spoken of this over the years as well. If you love a quarterback prospect, if you have a conviction about the quarterback prospect, do what it takes to get that prospect. That's it.
Right.
If you believe, if it's love, do what it takes. I mean, you know what? If you got enough lattes into Sean Payton, do you think he wouldn't express regret about not getting Patrick Mahomes when he loved Patrick Mahomes as a prospect 7 years ago?
1,000%. That's the ultimate fish story, right? Like, yes. I had the one that got away. The one that got away is maybe the best to ever do it.
Would have made things interesting by 2019 with Drew Brees. I mean, Drew Brees might have closed out his career somewhere other than New Orleans.
Yes.
Because they would have at some point they would have handed the baton to Patrick Mahomes. Right. And it's one of those things where I think it would have worked out very well for Patrick Mahomes. I think he would have done great there. Is Sean Payton the coach of the Denver Broncos if they get Patrick Mahomes? No, he's probably still the coach of the New Orleans Saints, right?
They probably got 3 more rings, maybe more.
Yeah. If you're a Saints fan, if you love the black and gold, that's gotta sting the nostrils a little bit when you think about it.
That's true. Now, before we get to Daniel Jeremiah's comments, which are fantastic, especially the acquired taste stuff, I do want to bring this up because I've talked about this. Zachary brings it up in the chat room. If Sean likes him, I like him. J.J. McCarthy, I do not have a first-round grade on. But if it was coming out next year, I probably would have a first-round grade because the tools are there. The ability to make tough stick throws between coverages, they are there. He just doesn't do it a whole lot. Of course, he handed off the ball a lot at Michigan. But I've said it before, Mason. I want to pick your brain about this because it's not me putting my evaluation to the side. I just know this. The math for me is this. Sean Payton has to find his guy. If J.J. McCarthy, Jaden Daniels is my guy, but I'm not coaching the Broncos, okay? So if J.J. McCarthy is Sean Payton's guy, the math is pretty easy. Let's go Broncos. That's what that equals. So like Zachary says, if Sean likes him, I like him because Sean's going to pick the guy that he wants, and then he's going to make sure that guy works.
Yeah, and I would say this. I talked about it with Rachel Vigil on Coffee Break earlier today. I am fascinated to see what the reaction in Broncos country will be because, there's a fair amount of people that look at J.J. McCarthy and say no. But if Sean Payton, who respectfully to almost all of you out there watching this, Sean Payton knows more about quarterback development than you do. Okay? He does. It's just that's just a fact.
Yeah.
If he looks at J.J. McCarthy and says, I can do what I want to do, what I need to do with this quarterback. I can develop him. I can turn him into something special. That I would like to think that everyone would get behind that. If it's Bo Nix, same thing. If he believes in Bo Nix, then
let's go Broncos.
Then yeah, and then come this summer at training camp, you see a bunch of Bo Nix jerseys, right? It'll be a very interesting thing if the Broncos sign a free agent quarterback in March, draft a quarterback in April, and you can't find jerseys for the free agent quarterback they sign, but you can find plenty of jerseys for the quarterback they draft, right? It's like
right.
in 2016, you couldn't find Trevor Siemian jerseys anywhere, but you could find plenty of Paxton Lynch jerseys.
Yeah. Another reason why I wanted to get Aaron Rodgers, so I could just take that off the back and then put Rodgers on there with the number 12. Now we've got two Daniel Jeremiah clips here. We've got a shorter one and a longer one, Mase. Let's set this up properly because Daniel Jeremiah, one of the best guys in the business, not only smartest and hardest working and former Raven scout, former Eagle scout, but just a good, really good man. He had a lot to say about the quarterback. So let's I'll have you set up the clips and then I'll roll that beautiful bean footage.
Well, let's see. The first one, let's talk about what Sean Payton's looking for. So this would be the Jeremiah Payton clip and how it ties into Bo Nix and J.J. McCarthy. Earlier in the conference call, he talked about the need for a quick processor. And, of course, if you're a Sean Payton quarterback, you got to have a quick processor. That's something that, frankly, maybe Russell Wilson didn't quite have at times in the 2023 season. Let's roll that beautiful beam footage.
And this, just super quick so I get the right one, is this the shorter one or the longer one? Because I should have named them differently.
It's the one with Sean Payton in the picture.
Okay, then that's this one. Let's go.
To me, with the Broncos, McCarthy and Nix would be the two that I think make a lot of sense if they were going to stick and pick one there. I think, for Sean Payton, as we talked about a little bit earlier on the call, being obsessed with processing, I think both those guys do that really, really well. I think that's a strength for them, as hard as it is to tell when you're watching tape and how these guys process, not knowing what the play calls, the reads, and all those things are all the time. I think those guys operate efficiently, and I think they're both very accurate, and they protect the football, which seem to be pretty core things there for Sean Payton.
Obsessed with processing, Mase. I love that.
Yes. Now, he's obsessed. What I do think is interesting is what did you and I see from Bo Nix when he was under pressure and you had excellent back end coverage in Senior Bowl practice, right? That the commitment to take off and scramble to process and get to that point, it did seem a little bit slow. Now, that being said, to come back to a point that we have made, he's working with new receivers in a practice environment that did not have 7-on-7 periods, so he had no timing, no rhythm whatsoever with the guys that he was throwing to. Right. So while I think it's fair to have a concern based on that, I'm generally giving him a pass on that because of how things were structured that week.
Right. And we've seen quarterbacks that are pretty damn good that have rough weeks at the Senior Bowl. Jalen Hurts was that way. Steven Montez looked better than Jalen Hurts on certain days.
Mhm.
Justin Herbert was the star that year. So we'll definitely give Nick that pass for good reason, Mase. And even Chad
Yeah.
Ryder, when we interviewed him for our President's Day special, he said Nick's grade is still the same. Whatever happened in Mobile, I guess, stays in Mobile.
Yes, exactly. So it's interesting to kind of have him talk about both Bo Nix and J.J. McCarthy with the processor component, because that's probably the most important attribute if you're going to succeed in a Sean Payton offense. Now, you have to have all the other tools, et cetera. And if you don't have the ability to drive the ball down the field, then your ceiling is going to be limited in this scheme. But if you're able to process quickly, make those quick decisions, the rhythm and timing aspect of it, you're probably going to get good results. Again, Sean Payton got good results from Jameis Winston, good results from Teddy Bridgewater. And you could even say, even though it was altering the offense to fit Russell Wilson, the results were much better than in 2022, were they not? So
right, very much so. Very much so. And I think the second clip that we have from Daniel Jeremiah is so very telling. And it's one of the reasons why when I think of, well, is this misinformation about J.J. McCarthy? Listen to what Daniel Jeremiah says, Mase, and you can set it up. Because for me, when I hear DJ say this, I'm like, that's not misinformation. That's the truth.
Yes. He basically, the way he describes J.J. McCarthy in terms of, I guess you could say, falling in love with the tape, an acquired taste.
Let's play it.
But with JJ, I've said he's an acquired taste, because when I watched him, first of all, you're watching TV and you're like, gosh, they don't really ask him to do much, right? They run the ball, they play great defense. He just he'll manage the game and kind of get them through it and make a couple plays here or there. But when you dig into the tape and you really watch it, and then you watch on, third downs where they've got to throw the ball and they do put the ball in his hands, there's a lot to like with him. He's got a really, really, quick mind. He's got a quick release. Just everything he does is real smooth. I wrote in my notes that the guy, he never gets bored with completions. So, where some other guys in his class get in trouble, big play hunting, if you're going to give him, check downs or give him completions, he's never going to get bored taking those. But he can rev it up. He can drive the ball in the seams. He can extend plays, keep his eyes up. I kind of, when I finished up watching him, I was like, gosh, who does he remind me of? And I thought, man, there's some elements of Alex Smith coming out of college, where Alex Smith had a similar build, played the game from the shoulders up really well, and was pretty athletic to get out and make some plays. So that was my comp there.
Beautiful. Never bored with completions. If that doesn't sound like Sean Payton, dude, I don't know what does.
Can't go broke making a profit, right? Even if the profit is small.
Yep.
You're gonna matriculate your way down the field. You're gonna take what's there. And look, when this offense is functioning as designed, there are going to be things there. It's quick. It happened. It's quick. It's sometimes the first, second read. You got to get out in a hurry. You got to commit to that. But you're going to have those opportunities there. And oh, by the way, if you've got the right players in those joker roles and you're getting it to them quickly, then you're setting up the potential for yardage after the catch. And that's how, you really can turn those little things into something big. I mean, if and it's about placement as well, right? Hey, if it's a short slant and you lead the pass catcher, good things can happen. And that's something that by and large was missing. I mean, look, the last couple of games, I'm not going to sit here and say Jarrett Stidham played very well. There was a lot that did not work in those games. But there were moments, where the ball's out in front, and you saw like Jerry Jeudy making a couple of plays, right? The ball's out in front, it's out there, it's out on time, and you saw the glimpse of what it could look like with a quarterback who's got more tools in his belt.
Right. I'll go back to the little Jordan Humphrey play where Jerry's blocking his ass off. That's a Sean Payton play. We actually saw Sean Payton play. It was just week 17.
Yes. Week 17 with Jarrett Stidham, and the playoffs basically gone. Bye-bye. Yep.
That's right. That is correct.
Fix the barn door after the horse came home.
I love the fact that when he needs to make plays, he can. And one of the things that I felt there was a disconnect with Russell Wilson, Mase, is like Russ is trying to play hero ball all the time. He's trying to play chaos ball all the time. No. There will be chaos. You cannot avoid it. It's the NFL. That's what's going to happen. And when that happens, Russ could still make plays. JJ seems like a guy with Sean Payton that could run what he's supposed to. Oh my God, it didn't work. Chaos, but I can still make a play. Instead of trying to do too much for multiple reasons. And God bless Russ, but like I felt like he was trying to do too much almost all the time.
Well, with Russ, it's spinning around, turning your back to the receivers as you're doing a 360, basically scrambling your way into sacks. If you can get J.J. McCarthy on point, then that mobility looks like, oh, I've gone through my progressions, 1, 2, 3, nothing's there, take off and get 7 to 10 yards. But the thing is with McCarthy, he is an effective enough runner to where some of those plays can turn into explosives, right? And as a result, you can create additional openings because if he is effective early in his career, taking off and getting and having the threat of an explosive run, then you're that off-ball linebacker, you're that safety. You got to think about that, and all of a sudden you're compromising coverage because somebody's got to stay home, and lo and behold, one fewer player in coverage means a little more open territory for McCarthy to find if it's working properly. And so all this is part of the equation here, that if you get J.J. McCarthy and develop him properly, this is where you're hoping it's going to go.
Yes, and one of the other things in the equation, as we'll wrap up today's show, Mase, it's patience. Again, back to our patience conversation. If you draft J.J. McCarthy, we'll have this tomorrow for the Daniel Jeremiah show, but he said Bo Nix is going to start pretty soon. I don't know if we can say the same thing about McCarthy. Could totally be wrong. He could totally wow us in training camp against Sam Darnold or whatever, right? And it could be a Russell Wilson situation where he beats out Matt Flynn and he's just the guy, right? That could be the case with J.J. McCarthy. But we know Bo Nix will probably start week 1. We know Drake May will start week 1. Jaden Daniels week 1. Caleb Williams week 1. We can't say that about J.J. of the top 5. We can't say that.
And I would say Bo Nix, maybe not week 1, but you're talking about October.
Week 5.
Yeah. The Jarrett Stidham bridge, basically.
Yeah.
The less sturdy bridge that is probably going to be replaced pretty quick.
You get out on it and you're like, uh-oh. I think I might have made a mistake.
Okay, there are some bridges that are sturdy, and then there are some that are like the Mile High Swinging Bridge in North Carolina around Grandfather Mountain.
Okay.
Or like in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Remember, a short round goes a straw bridge, and then he nearly falls through to the crocodiles below.
Crocodiles below in the NFL, that's for sure.
Yeah, like that. So there are some bridges that are going to be nice and sturdy, and then there are some like that bridge in Minneapolis that collapsed in Minnesota, that collapsed in the Mississippi. Or you ever see the video of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge from like 1940, the one that was like waving back? It was
waving,
forth. Yeah. Yes. Some bridges are like that.
Edwards says once they find their quarterback, they'll sing Minnie Riperton's song, "Loving You." I think that's the song, right? Is that the
song? It's easy because you're beautiful. Oh, gosh.
And I promise I will never sing again.
Are you going to try to sing that high note?
Loving you.
No, it's at the end. It's at the end. Ah, yeah, I can't really. I'm not even going to try. Yes.
I kind of was hoping you would try.
Name the artist.
Wasn't that Minnie Riperton?
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Edward put it in there, else I would have never known. It's from some movie. I know some movie that we quote all the time had "Loving You is easy because you're beautiful." It's the only reason I know that song. So
okay, yeah.
Didn't grow up with a lot of Minnie Riperton playing on the tractor.
Tragically, she died in 1979, only a few years after the song came out.
Wow. Okay.
Let's see. In popular culture, I'm on the Wikipedia page here. It's used in the Nutty Professor, the Eddie Murphy version.
Okay.
It's in Vegas Vacation. Wayne Newton and Ellen Griswold, played by Beverly D'Angelo, sing the song in a duet.
Okay.
In the early 2000s, Visa used the clip of a song in the television commercial where it was playing during a Pittsburgh Steelers game. So, okay. I don't remember that.
I don't remember that either.
Also used in the Angry Birds movie 2. What? There was a 2?
The second one? I thought the first one was so bad they wouldn't make a second one, but
that never stops anybody, Cease. Come on, you should know that, because Hollywood is out of ideas. I mean, like I don't know if you saw the commercial during the Super Bowl. It's Twisters now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As opposed to Twister.
What's worse than one Twister? More than one Twister.
Yes. Well, I mean,
John Paxson, by the way.
Bill Paxton. John Paxson was a Chicago Bulls star.
Chicago Bulls. Yeah.
Yeah, Bill Paxton was the actor. Yeah. Not only
RIP himself, huh?
Not only him, Philip Seymour Hoffman, a young Philip Seymour Hoffman was in the original Twister. Yeah. And he's no longer with us. Go watch the original, I say. I mean, but here's the other thing. The original, it wasn't just one twister. They had twisters, right? It was not one tornado. It was a bunch of tornadoes building up to the F5 at the end of the film, right?
Right.
So couldn't they have called that twisters? No, they just kept it elegant and said twister. Yes. Anyway. Nah. Yeah, like I saw that. I'm like, I think I'll just go watch the original one. Even though, I mean, I'm not saying it's exactly great acting. Like, he's in it for the money, not the science. God, I've never seen like real. Oh, really? Oh boy. Anyway, yes,
we're officially off the rails, but that's okay. We're wrapping up the show.
I've been told that people like it when the show goes off the rails. So,
okay,
yeah,
well, we'll do it at the end of the show.
Yeah, you save it for the end. Save the funny business for the end. Get to the good stuff at the beginning, right?
But always make sure to put in the YouTube stuff, which is what, Mase?
Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you never miss a vid. Especially next week when all the vids are coming to you from Indianapolis, Central Indiana, the cross. Wow. Indiana's the crossroads of America. I think the crossroads of America are technically in Terre Haute, not Indianapolis,
though. Sounds like a country song. He's Mase. I'm Cease. OBT is BFD. We appreciate you all. Follow Mase on all the socials at Mase Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying thanks, everyone. Big week coming up next week and a full Daniel Jeremiah show tomorrow. Still plenty to say about these quarterbacks, plenty to say about what other teams are going to do in front of the Broncos. All Daniel Jeremiah all the time. Tomorrow's show, Orange Blue Today, right here on YouTube. Thanks, everyone. Thanks to Joey behind the scenes. He's the man in the box. We appreciate you, Joey. I'm Cease. He's Mase. Stay tuned and stay frosty.